Welcome back to the deep dive. Today's mission is pretty specialized. It's tailored for you, the advanced builder who really wants to move faster and smarter.
Mhm.
We are doing a forensic breakdown of the Bolt chat box. We're looking at it not just as a basic messaging system, but as a really sophisticated control panel.
It absolutely is.
I mean, if you're using Bolt to build applications, you already know the chat box is where like 90% of the heavy lifting happens.
Yeah, it guides the work, it validates your ideas.
And it processes changes without forcing you to manually dig into the code view. Mastering this is the real shortcut to becoming an elite user.
It is. And for anyone who prioritizes efficiency and wants to get the maximum leverage from the models, understanding these nuances is it's essential.
Right.
Our goal today is to pull out the functions that really elevate this interface into a specialized tool. This deep dive is ultimately about conservation, saving you time, and critically reducing your computational cost by helping you use fewer tokens.
Okay, let's pause right there. Because tokens is key terminology we probably shouldn't just gloss over. When we talk about reducing tokens, for anyone who's maybe a little new to this, what are we talking about exactly?
So think of tokens as the basic units of computational cost. They represent pieces of words, bits of code, all the context the large language model has to process.
Okay.
Every time you submit a prompt or the model generates code, tokens are being used. So the more precisely you guide the AI, the fewer unnecessary tokens are consumed.
Which translates directly into faster performance.
Faster performance and often lower subscription costs. It really is the metric of efficiency.
Got it. Efficiency through precision. So what's on the menu today?
We're going to cover the strategic decision points of agent switching.
Okay.
The huge benefits of blueprinting your work with something called plan mode, how to perform searchable adjustments using the select feature, and then a breakdown of some prompt tools that automate huge chunks of your workflow.
All right, let's unpack this. This sounds crucial. Let's start with the intelligence that's steering the ship. The agents. We've got the default, which is the powerful modern Claude agent, and then there's the V1 agent, the legacy option.
Right.
Why would a builder ever choose one over the other, especially if Claude is, billed as the newer, smarter option?
That's a fantastic question because the choice really is strategic. You typically want the Claude agent for tasks that require complex reasoning, multi-step planning, or deep structural changes.
So the big architectural stuff.
Exactly. It excels at understanding nuanced constraints and long-term project vision. Think of it as the better architect.
And the V1 legacy agent, what's its role?
The V1 agent tends to be faster and, I'd say, more stable for certain repetitive or simpler tasks.
Okay.
Especially if you have very specific legacy features you need to maintain that were, built with that agent in the first place. Think of V1 as a reliable, quick hammer for simple jobs, and Claude as the advanced reasoning robotic arm. The point is, you can switch based on the task.
So if I start a project with Claude and then I decide, hey, I want to switch midstream, where do I do that? And what are the sort of hidden implications?
You can switch in two main spots. If you're just starting a build on the Bolt homepage, there's a simple agent selector right there.
Easy enough.
But if you're already deep inside a project, you just go to the menu, the plus icon in the bottom left corner of the chat box. You'll see the active agent and the option to switch.
Now, here's where I think a lot of users run into a tricky moment. If I switch agents, does the new agent remember everything I just told the old agent?
And this is the intentional friction point we really need to highlight. When you switch agents mid-project, the immediate conversation context, your chat history, is deliberately wiped clean.
Wiped clean. Why?
It's a safety measure. Imagine Agent A had this complex, multi-step conversation flow, feeding that exact same context to Agent B, which reasons in a totally different way, could lead to just unexpected, messy, or contradictory results.
So the model loses its short-term memory of our chat, but what about the actual project files and the code?
That's the crucial part. The new agent still retains full, unhindered access to the entire project codebase and all your files. The structure is all there. It's just the immediate conversational noise that's gone.
Okay, so this means if I have crucial high-level project rules like brand guidelines or core architectural constraints, I can't just rely on the chat history to carry that over.
Exactly.
What's the safest way to make sure those core rules travel with the project regardless of the agent?
That's where project knowledge becomes completely indispensable. Project knowledge is the long-term memory for your application. We strongly recommend that any general ongoing instructions you want preserved have to be captured there.
Can you give us some concrete examples of what belongs in project knowledge?
Think global rules. Things like your brand style guide. Always use the corporate blue hex code #1A54A9, or maybe specific API endpoints the app has to interact with.
Security constraints.
Security constraints, or even technical rules like do not use React functional components, stick strictly to class components. It's a foundational DNA of the project. It ensures consistency even if you switch brains.
That shifts the whole dynamic. It's not just about switching agents. It's about architecting the project's own institutional memory.
Precisely.
Speaking of dynamics, the agent choice naturally dictates the available conversation mode, which brings us to our next topic, planning versus discussion.
That's right. If you've selected the Claude agent, you get access to the highly efficient plan mode. If you stick with the V1 agent, you'll be using discussion mode, which is a slightly older approach.
Let's focus on plan mode. For the builder who might have wasted time or tokens on unwanted changes, what's the real return on investment here?
Plan mode is the ultimate efficiency hack. And frankly, it separates the amateurs from the pros. A common mistake is to just submit a massive prompt like, build a social networking site for dog walkers.
Right, you hit send.
You hit send, the AI goes silent for a minute, and then it generates a gigantic amount of code you might not even want, using a huge token budget right off the bat.
That's the exact scenario everyone wants to avoid.
And plan mode lets you avoid that costly mistake entirely. You can start plan mode right from your very first prompt on the home page by clicking Plan before you hit Submit.
So what's the benefit?
The benefit is you get to create and refine the entire project blueprint through discussion before you execute the full build.
How does that look in practice? Does it just spit out a bulleted list or something?
It's much smarter than that. Plan mode starts by creating the very base structure of the app, just enough to orient itself. Then it shares a detailed, step-by-step implementation plan right there in the chat box.
And I can interact with that plan.
Yes, you can challenge a step, ask it to modify the tech stack, refine the user flow all, without writing a single line of production code yet.
So I get to vet the entire development process and sign off on the blueprint before the heavy computation even begins.
Exactly. You ensure you agree with the architecture first. This prevents massive unwanted changes, and it saves a ton of tokens because you're refining the plan with cheap conversational context instead of expensive code generation cycles.
And the UI is simple.
Yeah, whether you're planning or discussing, the active mode button just highlights in blue. You click it again to jump back into the standard build mode when you're ready.
There's one small but absolutely vital detail for plan mode, right? If you want a mobile app, you have to explicitly say that in your initial prompt.
That is correct. If you just say, build a habit tracker, it's going to default to a web app. You have to tell it, build a mobile app that helps people track their daily habits. The mode itself doesn't infer the platform.
Okay, so once we have that solid blueprint, we move to the build phase. But often, the feedback loop involves making these tiny surgical adjustments to the UI, and describing those in text can be frustratingly vague. This brings us to the select feature.
The select feature is your digital scalpel. You access it with a small icon, usually a cursor arrow, in the bottom left of the chat box. And this feature directs Bolt's attention to one specific exact piece of the visual UI, a button, an image, a form field.
That is a massive time saver for precision work. I mean, if I'm frustrated, I might type, change the font size on the second paragraph in the contact footer, the one with the copyright symbol.
You never have to write that novel again. Instead, you click the select feature, you click the element in question, and then that element, it'll say something like, P tag selected for inspection is listed right above your chat input.
And then my next prompt is just...
It just needs to be, make this font 12 pixels and bold.
That is the definition of high-fidelity input. It just eliminates all that ambiguity that so often causes the AI to accidentally target the wrong thing, and then you need costly rollbacks.
It streamlines the entire interaction. It forces the AI to focus its logic on a single target, which leads to much cleaner, faster, and more accurate results for any visual adjustments or styling changes.
Okay, precision is one thing, but inputting external data is another. Let's talk about file uploads, because there's a critical nuanced distinction here in how Bolt handles files, a distinction that often leads to confusion and project clutter.
This is one of the most common user errors we see, and it all revolves around your intent. You can upload files using the plus icon or just by dragging and dropping them, but how you prompt the file defines its status.
So tell us the two different destinies for a file.
Okay, the first destiny is a project asset. If you upload a file, your prompt says, use the attached image as the logo in the header, Bolt recognizes that file is essential to the application.
It's part of the build.
It's part of the build. It processes it, optimizes it, and permanently adds it to your actual project files. It becomes part of the code base bundle.
And the second destiny.
The second destiny is strictly reference or inspiration. So imagine you upload a mood board or a design spec PDF or a photo of a cool website. If you prompt using the attached image for inspiration, adjust the site's color palette, Bolt uses that file temporarily for stylistic analysis.
But it doesn't keep it.
Crucially, it does not permanently add those mood board files to your project assets. This prevents all that unnecessary file bloat.
That is an enormous distinction for just keeping things organized. I can imagine a builder uploading 20 high-res images for inspiration, and suddenly their project bundle is huge, and they just thought they were showing Bolt a vibe.
Exactly. You avoid cluttering your repository with non-essential files. And just quickly, know your limits. Free plans cap file sizes at 10 megabytes, while pro plans give you much more room up to 100.
Good to know. Okay, so we've established the foundation. Choosing your agent, blueprinting your project, executing precise selections. Now let's tackle the actual text input. How do we make the words we type work harder for us? Enter the enhanced prompt feature.
This is a really powerful feature for overcoming, let's call it, prompt writing fatigue. You get to it from the plus icon. If you write a basic, maybe slightly underdeveloped prompt like, build me a login page, you click Enhance Prompt.
And what happens?
Bolt generates a longer, recommended, and far more detailed version of that prompt for you.
But what's the tangible result? Is it just adding fluff, or does it genuinely improve the output from the AI?
Oh, it genuinely improves it. The source material illustrates this beautifully. You give a simple prompt, you get a competent but, generic result. When you use the enhanced version, which might automatically add instructions about mobile responsiveness, accessibility, component naming, the result is significantly richer.
Richer how?
It often produces a more engaging structure and sometimes even generates additional pages automatically, just because the initial scope was so much clearer and more comprehensive.
So it's basically using the AI to help you write a better specification before you even start the build. That's fantastic for saving time and ensuring quality control.
It is.
But sometimes you already know the perfect prompt because you've used it 100 times.
And that's where the prompt library comes in. It's a massive time saver. It's a repository of reusable prompts, both the ones provided by Bolt, and any custom ones you've saved yourself. You don't have to retype your favorite instructions over and over again.
How do we navigate that library? Is it just a big list?
No, it's pretty well organized. You open it via the plus icon. It's structured with categories like SEO, usability, styling. They also have sections for your favorites and specialized commands.
And you can search it.
Yeah, if you're a power user and you know the command name, you can just start typing into the chat box. If you type DAR, for instance, the dark mode implementation prompt will pop right up.
And if I nail a perfect prompt for a specific task, can I save it for myself?
Absolutely. You manage your library using the create prompt command. This lets you name it, categorize it, pick an icon, and write the body of your custom prompt.
And I can favorite them.
You can favorite any prompt, even the built-in ones, to bubble them up to the top of your list. The only prompts you can actually edit or delete are the custom ones you created yourself, which keeps the system defaults safe.
Efficiency maximized, indeed. Okay, finally, let's wrap up with context management. Specifically, what happens when the conversation goes off the rails and the AI gets confused? We need the reset button.
Every builder eventually hits that moment. The AI seems to be stubbornly stuck on some irrelevant instruction from 10 messages ago. That is the perfect time for the nuclear option, the clear command.
What exactly are we clearing when we type clear and clear context?
You are resetting the language model's immediate working understanding of the project. You are wiping the conversational history completely clean.
Wow.
Bolt will effectively reevaluate the entire code base as if you just opened the project for the very first time.
I can see how that's necessary if the model gets bogged down in what you called noise.
It's crucial. If you feel like a long chain of contradictory or irrelevant messages is just confusing the model and degrading the output quality, clearing the context removes that noise instantly.
It gives the AI a clean slate.
A clean slate. It forces it to look at the project's current state objectively. It's also available in your general project settings if you prefer to go through the UI.
And just for a final efficiency note, we should remind our builders about quick support.
Oh, of course. You can search the entire Bolt Help Center without ever breaking your workflow. Just use the plus icon, select Search Help Center, and get instant answers without having to open a new browser tab or lose focus.
So, to recap, We covered the foundational difference between the Claude and V1 agents and how that choice dictates your planning mode.
Right.
We detailed the massive efficiency gain of using plan mode to blueprint everything before you execute costly changes.
Mm-hmm.
And we introduced the surgical precision of the select feature and the huge organizational benefits of differentiating between a permanent asset file and just temporary reference inspiration.
Synthesis is the key takeaway here. All of these features transform the chat box from a simple text field into a unified command center.
Right.
By understanding the strategic use of agent switching, the power of blueprinting, and the critical nuance in handling context and files, you minimize your cognitive load and you maximize the precision of your output. These are the tools that distinguish a casual user from a master builder.
Fantastic. Now, for one final thought for you to chew on, drawing directly from the value of plan mode. The true advantage of Bolt is that it forces you to create a deliberate blueprint before building. What if you applied that philosophy to your next big personal or professional goal? Are you rushing into implementation, generating a lot of code or effort that might be wasted? Consider taking the time to write a detailed multi-step plan mode for yourself, vetoing or refining steps before you ever execute the first line of code. Think about that until our next deep dive.